Hey, what's up, everybody? So, before I begin, I want to just clarify that today's video, I'll specifically be talking about Toledo Correctional Institution from mid to late 2011 to the time I wrote out at the very beginning of 2013, February to be exact. This 15 to 18 months was by far the most traumatic part of my entire 21 years behind bars. This window is where I suffered probably the worst of my PTSD and my anxiety from. There would be days I would wake up praying to God that we were on lockdown, just so I could try to get some peace of mind. I believe it all happened because the first murder that ever happened at that prison, the guys got away with it. And I'll explain. Let me back up a little bit first. The tension was already built. They had double bunked it. I explained that they had brought up 700 guys from southern Ohio and threw them in a prison full of guys from northern Ohio who had already been established in this prison. There were relationships going on between inmates and staff. And there was just a general way of how things were ran at that prison. And the guys from down south, they're in their bit too. So, and it became a pressure cooker. It became a war zone. The tension in that place was so thick. I mean, you could literally cut it with a knife. It was just crazy. So, the first murder, I don't know the details. I wasn't in the block. But I'm just going to speak on the murders that happened while I was there. But this set it off. Dude owed the Latin Kings some money. For some dope or whatever it was. And he didn't pay. They basically went in his cell, beat him till he was unconscious, and then they took his laundry bag, tied the string around his neck, and hooked it over his top bunk bedpost. And while he's unconscious, he's just hanging from this bedpost. They leave the cell and they lock the door. They leave him in there like that. The CO finds him, he's blue, he's already gone. The two guys that did this, they went to the hole. They sat back there like 3 or 4 months, and they got let back out on the compound. They beat it. How? I don't know. But with the tension that had been rising and rising and rising in this institution, and then this happened, and they get away with it. Criminals see that as an opportunity. Oh, this place is sweet. So, the very next murder that happened within a week, maybe about 2 weeks, 3 weeks. There was a guy named Tank. He's from Toledo. He allegedly fought amateur MMA or some shit. I don't believe that, but that was his claim to fame. But he was a big boy, big white dude, and he rode in from, I want to say Richland. I could be wrong about that, but he rode in from another institution. And the institution he rode in from was a lower level security, so he had gotten his level raised to come to Toledo, which means he got in trouble typically. That was his story anyway. I wasn't friends with the dude, but I knew him. That was his story. Well, come to find out, he had ran up a heroin bill with the Latin Kings in that institution, and instead of paying, he checked into the hole and refused to go back to the compound, and as a result, they raised his level and sent him to Toledo. That all came out later. When the Latin Kings found out where he was at, they put money on his head. And they paid these, it was three ABs out there, two of them attacked. They paid the ABs. So we're on the rec yard. Picture a big circle, big yard, and right in the center of it is a softball field. And around the perimeter is a track you can walk. So there's softball. It's the middle of summer. There's softball games going on. And Tank and a buddy of his are walking the track. It's just them two. They don't know Tank don't know he's being hunted. Well, I'm sitting in the bleachers watching the softball game. We're up there smoking. My buddy hits me on the shoulder. He's like, look. And I look over and we see these two white dudes run up to the backstop. Each of them grab a bat. They start creeping up behind Tank and his dude. They get about 5 feet away. And the dude on the left rears back. Boom! He hits the dude that was walking with Tank in the back of the head. Splits him wide open. Kills him immediately. Dude falls down. They start beating his brains literally out of his head. They drag him over into the yard and they leave him laying there. They killed the wrong guy. That body laid there for almost a half hour, dead, before the police came to get him. The softball game continued. Nobody even stopped to offer any kind of assistance, not even Tank. He ran. He immediately went. I think Tank's the one who sent the police to the body because he knew that was for him. And he dodged a bullet. Because he checked in and rode out again immediately. Them dudes ended up getting charges pressed. But then, right after that, they decided to make part of the whole a level 4 for maximum security inmates. I don't know why they decided to do this, but they did. Toledo at that time was a level 3 close security prison. So they ride in these level 4 guys, they put them in one block in the hole, and immediately they get to tearing shit up. They're turning up, they're literally ripping their bunk beds and shelves apart, and they're throwing them out the windows. They're breaking the windows out and throwing them out on the yard like they was tearing this bitch up. Well, they put this young kid in the hole. And he's 19, 20, maybe 21. He's in the hole. And he's in there for a little bit. He'd already been established in the cell. When, out of nowhere, a few days later, they tried to put this older Hispanic gentleman in his cell. Well, the kid knew him. And the kid told the COs, no, you're not putting him in here. He's a child predator. He's a sex offender. You're not putting him in my cell. If you put him in here, I'm going to kill him. He told the COs this. They laughed it off. They put the dude in there anyway. They came back an hour later to do a round, and the man was dead in the cell. And the kid took the knife he used to kill him and carved Chomo in the guy's back. Then, out of nowhere, there was this older dude named Smokestack. He was from Cincinnati. He was doing life. He had had 20, 25 years in, but he was younger. He was only in his early 40s. He had been locked up since he was like 16, 17. But he had like 25 years in. And he was known for two things. He'll kill you, very dangerous, and he was a booty bandit. So he had a stable. He had 4 or 5 punks. And he ended up going to the hole for something. I think it was, I don't know. I don't remember what it was. But whatever it was serious enough that it could have got him rode to another prison. It could have got him kicked out. And after so long, he had been back there 5, 6 months, however long he had been back there. I guess everybody just assumed he was riding out. And so his punks chose some new mans. Well, he had these 2 punks in particular named Salt and Pepper. It was 2 lanky white dudes, the feminine, girly type, sissy. One had blonde hair, one had black hair. Other than that, they were almost identical. And he called them Salt and Pepper. So one day out of nowhere, Smokestack pops up out of the hole. He's back on the compound. And a buddy of mine, a few hours had passed, but a buddy of mine had pointed out to me that he's not, you get out of the hole, you got all your property, all your clothes are in a bag, your food, your shit, you gotta clean your cell, you gotta set your cell up, you gotta get back comfortable. Especially if you're going into a cell where nobody's in there. Which was the case. I think he was going into a cell by himself. And he wasn't unpacking. And my buddy pointed, he ain't unpacking. Something's up. Well, sure as shit, they call dinner. And when we come back from chow, he don't come in our block. He goes into the block next door, where one of his punks, Peppa, was. He goes into the cell with Peppa and he chokes him, kills him, chokes him to death, strangles him. They put him in the hole. They don't catch him red-handed. They reviewed the camera and they seen that he went in there out of place. But they don't see on camera that he killed anybody. But they see him go in that kid's cell on camera, So they put him in the hole. This motherfucker sits back there for like 6, 7 months. And gets out. He beat it. I don't know how. I don't know the details, but I just know he got back out. And within 3 hours, he went and found the other punk and killed him the same exact way. I had refused to get my security level lowered probably a half a dozen times for a lot of reasons. One, I was at home. My house is 8 minutes from the prison, so it was convenient for my family to visit. My phone calls were 80 cents a piece long before they made that a thing. And it was sweet. It forever was there was a decade where it felt like you wasn't even in prison half the time if you were there. But I was sitting on the phone with my grandma in the day room when this new white guy gets out of the hole. I don't know him from Adam, but he comes into the block and he sits down at the picnic table about 15 feet away from me. And he just had this energy about him. I don't know, but for some reason I was paying attention. When all of a sudden I see these three Hispanics run up out of nowhere, all of them with a knife in their hand, begin to stab this man while I'm talking to my grandma. Lucky for him, the door to the block was open because he ran out of the block. And they chased him out of the block. They had to stab him 40 times. I don't know if he died or not. But I had a security review not too long after that, and I requested to get my security level dropped. That was it. So, I believe at that time Toledo was by far the deadliest prison in Ohio. It made the USA Today for the violence. They did like a national ranking. So yeah, I think that was that was really what blew the doors off that prison. So guys, I hope you liked the story today. If you did, hit the like and subscribe or share. I'd appreciate it. Help the channel grow. Till next time, y'all, I'm out.